The idea that you get further by working together is found throughout human history in communities and societies all around the world, with many examples of people organizing for mutual benefit. Organizing for mutual benefit was made into a formal cooperative enterprise business model in Rochdale, England in 1844. This cooperative business model has spread and is now found in 90 countries worldwide and involves over 800 million people. The definition of a cooperative enterprise is an autonomous association of persons united voluntarily to meet their common economic, social, and cultural needs and aspirations through a jointly owned and democratically controlled enterprise. This definition applies to all co-ops everywhere. Here in Canada, there are many types of cooperative enterprises. They involve all sectors of the economy and society, from food, transport, and healthcare to education, recreation, financial services, and more. The key difference between co-ops and other types of enterprises is that co-ops are incorporated under different legislation, which affects how they're governed. Co-ops also share principles and values which guide how they do business. Examples of co-ops include credit unions, producer co-ops like farm produce and fishermen's co-ops, consumer co-ops like food co-ops and car share co-ops, insurance co-ops like the cooperators, who provide insurance to many housing cooperatives, elder care co-ops, worker co-ops providing consultant services, even a skateboard and ski hill co-op, and of course, housing co-ops. As the definition states, co-ops provide a service that meets the common needs of its members. Anyone can start one. Each member has a say through the democratic governance structure. There are housing co-ops in every province and territory in Canada. Currently, there are over 2,000 housing co-ops in Canada, making up 90,000 households, and that number is growing. Housing co-ops come in all shapes and sizes, including detached houses, townhomes, towers, and stacked homes. They can be just a few units or several hundred. All members jointly own the membership association that in turn owns and runs the housing co-op. The members will never own the unit that they occupy, but as a member together with their neighbors, they collectively own the enterprise and its assets that provides the housing service. Remember we mentioned the values and principles that all co-ops share? Well, this is what they look like in a housing co-op. Voluntary and open membership. Membership in a housing co-op is open to all who can use the co-op services and accept the responsibilities of being a member without discrimination. Democratic control. Housing co-ops are controlled by their members. Each member has one vote. Housing co-ops give members the information they need to make good decisions and take part in the life of the co-op. Member economic participation. Members contribute financially to the co-op and share in the benefits of membership. The co-op does not pay a return on the members' shares or deposits. Instead, it sets aside reserves for the future and charges the members only what it needs to operate soundly. Autonomy and independence. Housing co-ops are independent associations. They follow the laws that apply to them and their agreements with governments or other organizations. But the members control the co-op. Education, training, and information. Housing co-ops offer education and training to the members, directors, and staff so that everyone can play a full role in the life of the co-op. Housing co-ops find ways to inform the public of what they are and what they do. Cooperation among cooperatives. By organizing together in federations, housing co-ops grow stronger and help to build a healthy co-op movement. Where they can, housing co-ops use the services of other co-op businesses to meet their needs. Concern for community. Housing co-ops work to build strong communities inside and outside the co-op. They help to improve the quality of life for others, and they take care to protect the environment. So, how exactly does a nonprofit housing co-op work? The members of the co-op elect a board of directors from among them. They entrust a lot of decisions to this board of directors, so communication and trust between the board and members is very important. Some decisions are reserved for members, and these are decided at member meetings. These decisions may include electing and removing directors, hearing membership termination appeals, appointing the auditor, approving the budget, and setting housing charges, and approving the rules or bylaws and policies. Decisions reserved for members vary from co-op to co-op. The board of directors makes decisions together around an actual or sometimes virtual board table. Housing co-ops often have contracts with governments, usually referred to as operating agreements, which relate to their startup and operating costs. While these agreements with governments are important, housing co-ops are not owned or run by government. They are independent associations, owned and governed by their membership. As with any other multi-unit housing co-ops contract with outside professionals to make sure everything runs smoothly. Most co-ops have a staff person or manager to help with daily operations. This person might have an on-site or off-site office. What is the difference between renting and living in a nonprofit housing co-op? Renting, residents are tenants. Living in a nonprofit housing co-op, residents are members. Tenants pay monthly rent. Members pay monthly housing charges. Tenants pay last month rental deposit upon move-in. Members pay a member deposit. Tenants sign a lease or tenancy agreement which outlines the terms of rental. Members sign an occupancy agreement, or in some areas of the country, a standard lease that outlines the terms of occupancy. There are additional rules or bylaws and policies that members receive on move-in and whenever anything is added or changed. Tenants can't necessarily stay long-term. Members can stay as long as they like, provided that they follow the rules of the co-op. Rentals usually provide the landlord with income, so the amount of rent factors in revenue for the landlord. Nonprofit housing co-ops operate at cost. Housing charges need to cover the cost of operating and maintaining the co-op without extra revenue for a landlord. What's the same? Renting, tenants don't make money over time if the rental property increases in value. Living in a housing co-op, members don't make money over time if the value of the housing increases. When a member moves out, their member deposit is returned to them with no increase in value. Tenants are not usually responsible for big maintenance items. Members are not individually responsible for big maintenance items. However, as part owner in the cooperative association that operates the housing, members are collectively responsible for electing representatives who will make sure that the housing co-op is being well taken care of. Rents increase as the cost of maintaining the property and housing service increases. Tenants have no control over rental rates. Housing charges also need to increase as costs to maintain and operate the housing co-op increase. Members usually vote on housing charge increases at annual budgeting time. Sector organizations that support housing co-ops, like CHF Canada, are also themselves cooperatives. This means your housing co-op, as a member, can have a say in how sector organizations support your housing co-op.